Happy Halloween, everybody. A while ago, I asked some people online what do they think of when they hear the word retro. For a lot of people, it's old video game systems like the NES, Sega Genesis, or the Nintendo 64. For others, it's old car designs like the Mercedes, the Gullwing, the Ford Model T, the Volkswagen Beetle. I could go on. But when I hear the word retro, I think of all the things from the past that we don't see anymore. Like all those home video formats that were made to compete with VHS and DVD. Like I said in my review at Topper, finding out about these things is like being an archaeologist. So for Halloween, I decided to branch out and talk to you about something from the past that we don't see too often nowadays. At least not to my knowledge. Radio programs. Yeah, back before the invention of home video formats and television, radio was one of the most affordable forms of entertainment. When most people think of radio, they usually think of music, news, talk shows, and sports. But for a long time, there was a popular form of radio called radio dramas. They were kind of like audiobooks, but they were done like plays, and things like action and events would either be described by the characters or were left to the imagination of the people listening to them. I think it's fun to look back at them, which brings me to my review, Famous Monsters Speak.
In the night I do see what you dream. All your troubles, are they what they seem? Look around you, then you may realize.
Okay, I'm cheating a bit with this. This isn't actually a radio show. It's a record, but when am I ever going to get to talk about radio shows on this channel? And this record actually feels like something that would actually work as a series of radio dramas. Now, movies are still going to be my main focus when it comes to this show, but I wanted to branch out a little bit and talk about some other things I find interesting. Famous Monsters Speak is a 1963 record that was made by the creators of Famous Monsters of Filmland. For those of you who don't know, Famous Monsters of Filmland was a famous magazine dedicated to horror films. And since the 60s, 70s, and 80s were a huge time for horror, the magazine sold like crazy. So much so that they even brought back the magazine and published new issues. If you want to know more about them, check out Big Jack Film's review of the King Kong books. He goes into detail about Famous Monsters of Filmland. And this record was made by the people who created it. This record came out in 1963 and was published by Wonderland Golden Records. Looking into this company, the only other thing I could find under their brand was its cartoon, song, and story collections. Yeah, this is why I said that finding these things was like being an archaeologist, because looking into Wonderland Golden Records was a dead end. There's little to give me information, and I had to do a lot of digging to find this out. Yes, I am stalling just to be a jerk.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in the Great Hall of the Institute of Technology in Zurich, Switzerland.
So the recording opens in a technology institute in Switzerland. Okay, since this is a different form of media, I'll try to be amusing and informative while trying to do justice to this. Since some things need to be worked around when you're talking about a different form of media. The show is hosted by Gabriel Dell, who some of you may remember as Cell from Earthquake. Dell plays the reporter attending the institute as we learn some interesting news.
As you have already read in the newspapers, a most amazing discovery has been made in this most peaceful of countries. It seems that Dr. Victor Frankenstein, once thought to be a character in a story, did actually exist and created what we have come to call his monster. The purpose of this meeting today is to hear, for the first time, the actual voice of the monster.
That's actually kind of clever. There's been a few attempts to link the original Frankenstein novel to real people, but this one goes all the way and tells us that there really was a guy named Frankenstein and there really was a monster.
Strange as it may seem, Dr. Frankenstein made crude recordings of the monster's voice.
And even though this isn't an actual radio drama, it still has that presentation where everything is described to us.
The machine stands before us on the stage. It's a huge thing looking something like a bad dream out of a science fiction story. Two speakers are on either side of it. The recordings themselves are now being brought in. They look like oversized tape reels. A technician is now placing one on the machine. And Dr. Erroneous signals for silence. The lights are going down. The red indicator light on the machine has just gone on.
Yeah, that's a big reason why not everyone can get into retro. Because it's so different from what we're used to today, a lot of people won't care for it. It would be like YouTube dying and everyone having to use Internet Archive. With that said, when we hear the monster speak, the recording actually gets kinda scary.
We are about to hear Frankenstein's monster speak for the first time. Frankenstein, I know your name. I hate your name. Yes, I am your creature. But which one of us is the horror that scares little children? Is it me? Or is it the man that made me?
Yeah, I don't know if I can make many jokes in this episode because that's heart-stopping to me for some reason. From what I gather, Gabriel Dell did most of, if not all of the voices, and I didn't even know that. Gabe's voice acting is amazing.
All the time I need to put an end to you.
The monster here is shown to hate his creator right away. And while I can see other people finding this forced, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't think it was a little bit forced, I actually buy his spite. Especially since this recording probably has some of the best writing I've ever heard. I'm serious. From a Frankenstein story, from a horror story, from a record, from fiction in general, you get it.
What is there about remembering? Can the little ones, the humans, remember the night they came into the world? The monster can.
Wow, that was cosmic.
Yeah, this is the beauty of records and radio shows. Because the audience can't see the action, they were forced to be creative.
But not so strange to want to crush them, to feel them in my hands, to tighten my fingers and see them die.
And I don't know why, but the more I imagine that voice coming from the monster, the more I feel like I'm gonna die by his hands.
I have to find him. I have to see the one that gave me life. Where is he? Where is Dr. Frankenstein? There's no place to hide. Dr. Frankenstein, no door to keep you from me. Not in here, Dr. Frankenstein.
The longer it goes on, the more insane the monster's motives become, as the monster doesn't just want to kill Frankenstein, he wants the doctor to suffer more than he has. So,
I will amuse myself with terror and murder. I must kill, so that we can be alone, Dr. Frankenstein. I have decided that the world must be emptied of its people. I have plenty of work.
oh sweet Gaia, that is delightfully psychotic. As it goes on, the monster kills several people, and we get some gruesome details, especially for something that's just being described. In fact, I could actually imagine some of this dialogue being in a slasher film.
Kill. They come apart so easily.
You mean like Vimeo? But eventually the monster begins to soften up a bit and begins to get some more complex thoughts. Like some of the most famous versions of the Frankenstein monster.
What if I asked her if I could come in, be warm, to talk, to have a friend?
I wouldn't normally say this, but I think you'd be better off waiting for social media to be invented. Unfortunately, the monster accidentally breaks the window, and instead of presenting a gift to the woman to calm her down, he pets her like a cat and accidentally kills her.
Life went out of her. I'm a monster. Yes. But I wanted to undo what I had done. I want to see her moving and breathing again. And in this whole world, there was one man who could help me. You, Dr. Frankenstein.
The monster brings the dead woman back to Dr. Frankenstein, hoping he can convince the doctor to bring her back to life. And in a pretty interesting twist, we learn that the complete sentences are only in the monster's head, and we're the only ones who can hear them because there's a device strapped on the monster's head.
I came back. I showed you the girl, and you called me fiend from hell. I begged, I pleaded, but you couldn't understand me. And in my concern for the girl I had killed, I let you strap me down. I thought you were going to help, so I went to this metal couch and let you put this machine on my head while she lay crumpled on the stone floor.
I can see some people seeing that as a cop-out or finding it to be unnecessary, and while I can be like that a few times, I personally find it interesting. The story ends with the house being burned down by an angry mob, because come on, it's a Frankenstein story, there has to be an angry mob. Even the Chipmunks version went to the extra effort to include two.
You made me too strong for chains. There's no place to hide from me.
So, the monster storms out of the house, kills everyone, and it cuts to a different story. Yeah, it just kinda stops and goes on to the next story. Maybe the recording I heard just flipped to the other side of the record because I know there's some records that play different things on each side, but the story doesn't even end. Like I said, it just stops. Now it's about a man typing.
"11. An hour left to midnight. My last hour alive."
The second story opens with someone typing a warning about Dracula, as the majority of this story is a flashback.
Whoa, flashbacks!
The narrator explains how he went into a crypt looking for the fabled Dracula, and now he's writing a note to warn the world about him.
And I have to put this all down. Something I can't understand kept me going. Now it's too late.
My career will be over soon. The flashback informs us that he found the Count's tomb as Dracula wakes up and...
Who is there? Who comes to the crypt of Count Dracula? Ah, it's you. You have come to see if there is such a thing as Dracula.
He sounds a little silly, but I really like his voice. I'm not sure if Gabriel Dell is still doing all the voices, but he did a really good job impersonating Bela Lugosi's version of Dracula. For those of you who don't know, Bela Lugosi was a Hungarian actor who played Dracula in the 1931 film by Universal, and his portrayal of Dracula became so well known that he became the spitting image of the Count. In fact, whenever anyone impersonates Dracula today, Bela Lugosi's version is usually the one they mimic. Usually when someone mimics Lugosi's voice, it comes off as a little silly, but here, the voice comes off as being charming, welcoming, but you can still tell there's something wrong with the Count, which is how Dracula's voice should be. My only problem with Gabe's version of Dracula is that it kind of reminds me of Cougar McDowell's Ichi voice.
Come closer. Closer.
Yes, I quite do like what I see. Never mind.
Such things cannot exist.
Although if Nee and Kevin appeared in this, I wouldn't be against it. So Dracula decides to take this random person into the streets and show him how he feeds. We also find out a fact that makes vampires even more threatening.
No, no. Do not try to stop me from what I shall do tonight. All right, then. Take your little knife. Stab me. Go! Strike my heart! It goes right through me. Ah.
That's right, stabbing a vampire with a knife does nothing. I have to say, that's actually pretty scary. Although it does raise the question, how does the wooden stake through the heart thing work if... Ah! Okay, I get it! Okay, everyone, I wouldn't normally do this, but we only have a few hours until Halloween, and I still have a Christmas episode I want to do after this, so I'll have to wrap it up here. The story ends in the present as the Count returns for our main character to turn him into a vampire. Wait, why didn't the Count do that when the guy was there with him?
Midnight? So soon?
My friend, it is time. I have come for you.
If there were anything to give me the goose pimples, it's probably that.
I don't like the Dracula story as much as the Frankenstein one, but I still think it's a work of art. I think it's a shame that this record never became a radio show. If they'd made more of these with the other classic monsters, I think it may have worked. Imagine one of these audio stories about the Wolfman or the Mummy while you're on your way to work. As it is, I think this record deserves more attention. If you're into radio dramas or you're a fan of the classic Universal movie monsters, I say give it a watch.
Listen, idiot.
If you can find it. With that said, happy Halloween, and if you'll excuse me, being the retro geek that I am, I've got some radio shows on CD to buy.
Every night I will save your life, and every night I will be with you. 'Cause every night I still lay awake and I dream of an absolution. 'Cause